Hello there, my name is Martin Henley. This is the Effective Marketing Content Extravaganza. And if this is your first time here, you couldn't possibly know that I am on a mission to give you everything you could possibly need if you are looking to be more successful in your business, providing, of course, what you need to be successful in your business is to know more about and be implementing more efficiently, more enthusiastically, and more effectively sales and marketing in your business. Because, of course, that's what you need. You need more customers, more cost effectively. I think that's what you need. And eventually everything you need to do that will be available to you on this channel. And let's not pretend there's not already reams and reams and reams and reams and reams and reams of content if you are looking to be more successful in your business. So what goes on here is very occasionally on a Monday, I'm here giving you everything I know about sales and marketing. That's the What the series on a Monday. On a Tuesday, I pull in people with experience to share if you're looking to be more successful in your business. That's Talk Marketing on a Tuesday. In 2024, it will be the last Wednesday in the month. Melanie Farmer comes through and we look at the marketing news and speculate wildly about what it might mean for you in your marketing life, in your marketing business. And on the other Wednesdays, I'll be here reviewing so you don't have to. On Thursdays, I'm here thinking out loud. And on a Friday, we review the very best and the very worst of marketing content on the internet. So if that sounds like it might be interesting or useful, please take a second right now to like, share, subscribe, and comment and get involved, because that will give us the motivation we need to continue on this epic journey. I did rather well with that, I think, for the first go of the year. So, you lucky sausages, if you are watching this go live, it will be the last Wednesday in the month, and it is that Wednesday when Melanie Farmer comes through and we look at the marketing news and speculate wildly about what it might mean for you in your marketing life, in your marketing business. Good morning, Melanie Farmer.
Good morning or afternoon here in Australia. Good morning, Bali. How are you?
We are extraordinarily well in Bali. Happy New Year, etc., etc. I hope you had a good Christmas season, summer thing going on there in the Blue Mountains. We start with a boast. Do you have a boast for us?
Well, I can tell you that it's the first time ever that I hosted family Christmas, which we celebrate in my house and family. So I had everyone descend, and it all went extremely well. We did have a monsoonal rain on actually Christmas Day, but we went out and sat under the umbrellas in the garden and we got Spotify going. We started playing songs, and we were only allowed to play songs with the word rain in them, which was hilarious. So we didn't let the rain dampen us. So we had a great time.
Fantastic. Good. Excellent boast. I've got so many boasts. I'm a little bit on fire here getting stuff done. I can't remember anything now that I've got done. One thing I've got done is I have this duster on my desk because my desk tends to attract a lot of dust. So I just give it a little sweep down like this quite often. And what I've done is I've attached a hook to the end of my desk, so the dust doesn't have to live on my desk. So that's one of many things that I've achieved. I can't tell you what else because my mind's gone completely blank. Oh, we've refurbished the ice bath so it doesn't actually look like a chest freezer anymore. It looks like something that you'd expect to see in a sauna. It's quite uncanny that it looks so good now. And now I'm going to show you a photograph because this is probably the easiest way. So it is a little bit. Would you know, it's in there. Would you know that that's a chest freezer?
No, it looks like a kitchen bench. Looks like a stone top.
Yes. So that's it. That's so, because it did look before. Look at that depth of field there. You see that? See me completely blurred? Oh, you're looking at all my photos. That's dangerous. So look at that depth of field. You see me go completely blurred, and it's a little bit overexposed. But basically, it's we've made the top. It's made out of wood, and it's made out of recycled pallets. So it's recycled as well. It's beautiful.
Fabulous.
Good, but what we did do in the process is we lost the little plug, the overflow cover they call it, so we haven't been able to put any water in it since we finished, so it's not actually functional. We're waiting for that to arrive. That is something that needs to be ordered, that little bit of rubber. So, good. So here we are, but we're not here to talk about my ice bath. We're not here to talk about my hook for my duster for my desk. We're not here to talk about your Christmas. We're here to talk about the marketing news. So what has got your attention, Melanie Farmer?
Right. So the fact that I can't not talk about X payments has shown up and it's rocking the world a little bit. And it's sort of the everything app on its way to you and your phone today. The second story is a bit of a summary of predictions of what is going to go on in the world of marketing in 2024. So I thought that's just, it's always interesting to see what people think is coming. And then the last one is about Facebook and how the amount of what looks like scams, and it's a pretty high number of things that are going on Facebook.
Okay, interesting. I've also now got three stories. So I'm interested in what's going on with Google and the search engine. So for search engine optimization. And this is a thing that's been rumbling on for about 6 months, but I don't think we've spoken about it. And it's about the search ranking volatility. So it's not as reliable as you might expect, the Google search rankings. And I've got a view on this. You know, I will have a view on this. So I'm interested to talk about that today. I'm interested to talk about the end of third-party cookies, which we are expecting to have finished entirely by the end of 2024. So I think that's going to have an impact on the way that we do digital marketing. And then the last thing I want to talk about, rather selfishly, is, because it makes my point about AI, is Manchester United have a new ownership. And this isn't really anything to do with marketing. It's to do with AI, though, which is going to have a big impact in marketing. And they are turning now to AI to support them in finding better football players and being a better football club, which I think is it's an indication of things to come in terms of AI, where people abdicate responsibility to AI entirely. I think it's grossly irresponsible for Manchester United to say that computers are better at running football clubs than we are, although they're probably not saying that if they're watching. God help us if they're watching. Go and do a better job running a football club if you're watching this, but don't sue us. But yeah, so that's the conversations that I want to have. So we need to put this into some kind of order. So I think the Google thing is massive. So shall we start with the Google thing? Yeah. Google is a little bit like jungle. Yeah. I tell people this on my training courses. You won't have heard this before. Do you know how Google is a little bit like jungle?
How?
It's massive.
Massive.
Jungle is massive, yeah. And then I tell them content is a little bit like love. Do you know how content is a little bit like love?
Keep going.
It's all around.
Wait. Oh.
I feel it in my fingers. You know the song by Wet Love is all around.
In Martin's life, it might be all around. In Melanie's life, there's a little bit of love and maybe sometimes not love. Although I do have a Labrador, so there you go. There's love all around.
There's always love if you have a Labrador. Always love if you have a Labrador. Okay, super cool. So are we going to go Google first? Now, this is a little bit messy, so I'll just warn you this is a little bit messy because I've got 3 or 4 things that kind of I think are interesting. So let's start with this thing, which is Google search ranking volatility says what today's Google search ranking volatility says about tomorrow's SEO strategies. So basically, Google's a little bit all over the place with its rankings. They can't be relied on. They could never be relied on. Search engine optimization was never a fixed thing. You do it once and it works forever for you. Because basically, this is the point I want to make is that Google don't make any money out of the natural search listings. Like, they need to be there, obviously, but that's not how they make their money. They make their money from ads. So this search engine results page volatility is kind of interesting because they'd rather you invest in spending money on advertising rather than spending money on search engine optimization. We know that there are industries where you're never going to get anywhere near the top of the page, either in terms of advertising or search engine optimization, like hospitality. So that makes it much more difficult. So the search engine world has kind of got itself in a little bit of a tiz over the fact that this is hugely volatile. It goes to a deeper thing. I want to do a thinking out loud. I've only ever done one, by the way. But I want to do a thinking out loud about how the internet ends, because it seems to me that the internet is the property, essentially, of Google, Facebook, X, LinkedIn maybe, YouTube, or maybe it's not the property of those companies, but they are the custodians of it, and probably especially Google, because they sit on 90% of the traffic. And if they don't do a very good job of looking after it, then maybe we stop relying on it. Does that make sense? Is that too big a question to pose? Because we're trying to get this done in an hour.
Yeah. Or come back to trust, doesn't it?
Yes.
If you have trust, then you'll invest. If you don't have trust, you won't invest. And investment can be in money, time, both.
Yes. So let me just show you this thing. I was looking for a florist this morning. Whatever I search for on Google, it takes me to Microsoft Bing. And I think Microsoft are the Antichrist. I don't want Microsoft on my computer, So why is it taking me to their search engine? So that's interesting. I mean, I've been upset about this for a month. I can't turn it off. I can't work out how to turn it off. I had an experience with Google last year because there's a child that accesses my tablet occasionally, and he managed to buy the worst game you've ever seen from the Google Play Store for £80. And I thought, because I'm an idiot, well, that's fine. I'll just reach out to Google and they'll credit me and they'll be pleased to hear that this spammy game maker is ripping off their customers. Oh, no. They don't want to credit me at all. They're happy that people are on their Play Store selling these obviously very spammy games. And it's like, did the child have permission to use your tablet? And I'm like, yes. And they're like, well, then that's it. But he doesn't have the cognizance to know that he shouldn't be spending £80. He doesn't know what £80 is. Do you know what I mean? So that sort of trust that I've always had with kind of these corporations, something's gone wrong, I'll get in touch, they'll fix it, is just weird. Also, I've been wanting to run ads on these videos for as long, like more than a year. And I've been trying for more than a year. And I've taught digital marketing for the last 15 years. And I can't work it out. I put another one together last week and it's just completely disappeared. So I've got no idea where it's gone. To the point where I reached out to them. I know it's completely stupid to reach out to Google. All they'll tell you is spend more money. I reached out to them and I video chatted with this guy. And he was in an office somewhere in Bangladesh. And that's absolutely fine and absolutely cool. Except this office looked exactly the same as the spammer's office. These people who phone you up and say, oh, you've got a problem with your computer, you need to give me access to your computer. It looked exactly like that. So it just seems to me that I lost a lot of trust in Google, I think, in 2023. And they are the custodians of the internet. So if this is what's going to go on, if I can't have Google Play on my device because I might get rinsed for some money at any second and Google doesn't care. Or if I can't run the ads, that's how they make their money. I have taught digital marketing for 15 years and I am struggling. Like, firstly, they don't have a button. They don't have a campaign type, which is grow my YouTube channel, which is idiocy. Why not? Like, basically, can I spend money with you to grow my thing with your thing? Do you know what I mean? That I use. So it's ridiculous. So this is what's going on, and now there's volatility in the search results. And the thing that kind of astounds me a little bit is that SEOs they like to pretend that this is a really valuable thing and it's always going to be valuable, but that's not what it is. Search engine optimization. They came out with this: Google confirms a search ranking bug where sites disappear from search results over the weekend. Like what? Like over the weekend. So what if I'm a consumer business and I do my business at the weekend? Like, the results are different on a Saturday and a Sunday than they are on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So there's this, and then this. Google search is losing the fight with SEO spam, study says. So the thing is now with ChatGPT, people are producing reams of content in seconds, and Google isn't coping with it. So the results now. So the overall picture we're seeing is they're not taking the money for advertising. They're not operating in good faith with their consumer customers. They're not able to generate or provide consistent results, and they're not able to provide the best results, because I can say to ChatGPT, produce me a article or a blog post of this duration with this words, with this proliferation of these keywords, blah, 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 and it's done in seconds and it's posted in seconds. So, yeah. So are we seeing the decline of Google is the thing. Are we seeing the decline of Google? That's my question for you. Or what do you think about any of this?
Well, Google's been going a long time their life cycle compared, like, life cycles of companies have been getting shorter since 1900.
Yeah.
We've tracked since 1900. There are companies like Hewlett-Packard who are an extreme exception. So there are companies that are, and GE, who break themselves up into sub-companies. I think it is interesting how long they have lasted in a world where life cycles of companies are getting much shorter, like 10 years.
Yes.
That's a short life cycle for a company. So that cadence has been getting faster and faster as time's gone on, and quickening, like, products life cycles as well.
Yes.
Especially since, let's say, 2000 to now, there's been companies come and go. So that longevity is not, it's unusual. So that does tell me that, so partly I was hearing what you're saying, going, wow, they've got a great business model involving rinsing everybody.
Yes.
But it's a terrible business model, because ultimately, I see what is happening with them is the same as what's happening in media, because we ultimately don't trust a biased journalist. Then anything they are trying to achieve falls over, because we don't follow them anymore. No matter what their belief is, it's supposed to be independent.
Yes.
They're not supposed to be having an agenda, but more and more not have an agenda, but declare it virtually in the questions they ask, who they talk to, and what they print. So
Yes.
I think Google, if they're experiencing this trust journey, I mean, the sector itself, social media sector, is the least trusted. The fact they're trusted less than banks, that's pretty worrying. But Google's escaped that bubble, I think, because they're not a social media site like Facebook and Twitter, say, are. They're kind of like an engine underneath. But now I think they're starting to suffer with, it's just that we haven't had an alternative, and we're relying on them as a core, like, we can't operate without them.
Yes. And the thing is that we have seen Google being biased. So, for example, during the 2020 election, if you Googled Hillary Clinton criminal, it didn't bring up the criminal charges that have been brought against her. It was like Hillary Clinton criminal lawyer, or Hillary Clinton criminal justice bill, or something. Do you know what I mean? So they've been burying the truth. So they've been biased as well. And I think that was the other thing that happened in 2023, is that we saw the bias, we saw the control that these platforms are exerting, because obviously Facebook were up in front of the those congressional committees, and basically what we heard is that they've got, like, federal agents embedded in their businesses, and they recruit ex-federal agents. So it's like hand in hand. And the other thing that's specific here is the fact that could the internet exist without Google? It could, couldn't it, I suppose? Because now I'm thinking businesses are so reliant on the internet for their business, like in a marketing and sales sense, but also in an operational sense. They're running operations through the internet. Their processes, their softwares, their databases are in the cloud, But that's not Google, is it? That's Amazon probably. The thing
Well,
is,
Intel.
it's Amazon, it's Google, Amazon, and then probably the social media platforms essentially are the guardians of the internet. They have it, they run it, they own it, so I don't know.
Mm,
Hmm.
yeah, I think you've got to do a thinking out loud on this because there's lots to unpack. But
Yes.
I do think they are destined to experience the same trajectory because of trust. Like, yeah, I think that's really it's what's interesting to me. The parallel here is what happened with NASA, where NASA went to the moon apparently after they went to the moon. Imagine, what do you think happened to their funding the year after they came back from the moon? Their funding got cut significantly because really America was trying to catch up with Russia. Da, 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 da. So it was like unlimited budget. We must go to the moon. The second they'd gone to the moon, they went like, right, you're getting nothing now, but keep going to the moon. Keep on delivering these amazing outcomes for 80% less money. And so what we experienced was the Challenger disaster, Columbia disaster, etc. And partly that's because they went from hundreds of security, safety folk to 17. 17 people were left managing the safety of launches. Um, and so since those disasters, they've turned that around and whatever. But the thing is, the parallels for me are Google has achieved extraordinary things, so have the social media platforms, and now they are continually being stretched. Do more with less, do more with less, which is the nature of business often. And so then things are falling over, and there's no one there anymore. There's no department, even in some cases, whose job it was to make sure we don't crash. There's just the people going, don't worry about that. So I think there's a
Yeah.
little bit less balances on
So,
quality control. So it was the quality assurance division of NASA that was cut
yeah.
and
And this is
outsourced in part.
And this is what we were talking about a year ago, was that we're going into recession. They're all cutting jobs. We've seen what's gone on with Twitter. Was it 60-70% of the staff just gone away? So I think it's interesting. I think I do want to do like a thinking out loud about this because it's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Is it going to happen that there's going to be, like, they're talking about the digital black hole, like in 100 years, like everything's digital now. But when the digital thing falls over, everything's going to be lost. So it's like, so in photography, they say print your photos, do you know what I mean? Because you can't rely on the digital thing. So is it going to happen that the internet's going to come to an end? I mean, Lord knows, if you watch the news, you think the world's going to come to an end anyway, any day. But yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so let's keep an eye on that. If the internet goes, then you'll never hear from me again till I knock on your door in the Blue Mountains. That's what will go on. Okay, let's go to your number one story. What would you say your number one story is? Is it X?
Yeah, let's go
Yeah.
X.
I
I
really
mean,
hoped in
actually, the Facebook.
2024 you would have got over your X issues.
This X is my X. That's what it is. So this is interesting to me. You know what? I don't actually have an opinion about this. I'm
Okay.
interested in what this means for businesses. So X, which has been losing money like nobody else, so in recent years, but it's now got its act together and, as promised, has launched X Payments. So this is effectively, the creator of PayPal is bringing that across, and it's designed to really compete with WeChat, which is an ambition that Elon Musk had for X to be doing this since he very first started talking about Twitter. So it has launched, and it's got its own sort of badge. And so far, you can, what is it? I think in this article it talks about what you can buy phone calls. So you can sort of call people using it, or something like that.
Right.
And then your details now, because you've got this verified badges, your credit card details are on there, and so you can use those to do full-on transactions. So they're now even exploring whether cryptocurrency might come in there. So that would be an interesting game changer. I mean, one thing I do really like about this is that no matter what you read, it does feel to me like Elon Musk doesn't lie. He says he's going to do something and then he does the thing. I mean, he did buy Twitter. He said he was going to put WeChat to shame, and it looks like he's going to do it. So he's really, in a way, you could radically trust this guy, because if he says he's going to do a thing, he just goes ahead and does the thing. So that's one of my takeaways. But the other is, it is really interesting. What will this do for WeChat and for PayPal and these other alternatives? Is this going to be, the platform where you go to buy stuff? It's not what I would think of as the place to go. But yeah, what do you think about this?
I tell you what I think, 100%. I think that Elon Musk is the master executioner. And when he says he's going to go out and do something ridiculous, you might as well just now accept that he's just going to do that ridiculous thing. And so,
Yeah.
so that's fine. I think what the internet needs in 2024 is something new, something innovative, something better, something that works, because it just feels like it's like, when was the last actual innovation? I suppose it was AI, but then is AI, who is AI actually helping? Maybe marketers, maybe coders. I don't know, but it's not like, so maybe that's what we need, is we need a big innovation for consumers of the internet, not necessarily creators of the internet, which is, I think, maybe what AI is. So I think, like, in terms of trust, I think you're right. Elon Musk doesn't lie. Like, he says stupid things occasionally, but he doesn't lie. When he says he thinks this thing, it's because he thinks it, and he kind of follows it through. And I think that is kind of a really nice characteristic in 2024, when everyone else seems to be lying through their teeth, So an endearing kind of quality. I don't agree with everything he says and everything he's doing, and I don't agree with all of that stuff. But what it does, I mean, and here especially, if I'm understanding this, like, he did create PayPal, so he has got previous of doing this, so he can. And, Twitter has lost money for years, like since before he was involved, it was losing money. And he overpaid for it, like, dramatically. But maybe he bought these 200 million customers for these 15, 20, 30 services that are all going to come down the track. And the answer to your question, will people use it, is that people will use the easiest thing. If he makes this the easiest thing, and you're already a Twitter user, like, I'm not an ex-user anymore since you made it difficult for me to access my account. But if you're already an ex-user and they make this the easiest thing, then people will do it 100%. And I think especially because people are losing trust in the other organizations. It's like, yeah. So, yeah, I quite dig Elon Musk. I think it's all right. Not all of it. I think the Mars stuff is nonsense. There's absolutely no way we're going to live on Mars. But I did well not to bite when you said that we landed on the moon. So we're doing well in this conversation.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
Carry on. Not as big a story as I thought, but I think we're still on the same page. It's interesting. It's one to watch anyway. We need to be aware of it. And if you're selling products via Twitter, you absolutely want to be getting on X payments. So there you are.
Yeah, but who was buying on TikTok 4 years ago? Nobody. So it's like, these things can happen. They do happen. So, and the models are there. It's not like he's having to invent these things, like that, or in ideate these things. These things are all there, and I think he's got the legs to actually put these things into practice. Okay, good. Good. Next story is
Story.
my next story, which is um, a little bit technical, and I'm not going to pretend that I know. I think I know what this is. It's third-party cookies. The end of third-party cookies spurs new marketing approaches. Which story have I got here? So because I'm not confident of this. So this is where I picked it up on Marketing Week, but they wanted me to subscribe. And I can't give them £455 because I want to read out one of their articles very occasionally on the news. So then I Googled it, and this site, which is DM News, so Digital Marketing News, they tell us all about it. The end of third-party cookies is happening. They announced it in 2020, so it's been coming down the track a little while. And I'll tell you exactly what a third-party cookie is. It is a third-party cookie, is a cookie that's placed on a user's device, computer, cell phone, or tablet by a website from a domain other than the one the user is visiting. So, for example, I have third-party cookies enabled on my device. I visit a website. Facebook knows that I visited that website. They place a cookie. So now when I come and search on Facebook, or when I'm on Facebook, heaven forbid I'm ever on Facebook ever again. But if I'm on Facebook, then I'll start to see ads related to that content that I've demonstrated some interest in. So it's interesting because this is, I think, how Apple have been hurting Facebook is by not allowing them to put cookies on their users' devices when they go. So this is an advertising thing. So basically, it's an advertising thing. Like they target via these third-party cookies. And then if you're an affiliate marketer, which was the other thing I meant to say about the rankings before, is it is apparently promoting affiliates. Then, if you're an affiliate marketer and I send you to Amazon to look at a product, but you don't buy it, then the cookie sits on your machine. So the next time you go to Amazon and buy something, I'll still get the commission for whatever it is that you end up buying. So this is going to make advertising much, 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 much less effective, much, much, much less targeted. And this goes back to a conversation I had with Tom Breeze on the the 11th episode of Talk Marketing, which is it's going to force marketers now to be much more creative or much more. It's going to cause marketers to have to build much stronger relationships with their customers because they can't just rely on new customers coming through the door all the time through this advertising. And it's going to rely on what they call first-party data. So you keeping the data of your customers and the people who visit your website rather than relying on these other companies to do that. So what do you think? The thing is, I think both of these things, like Google not doing a very good job and now third parties cookies going away, is going to have an impact on the digital marketing landscape. It's going to change the way that we do digital marketing. And I think digital marketers have got fat and lazy on third-party cookies and Pixel and all of these things, and just relying that they can go to these platforms and just be given access to customers. What do you think?
Is your understanding that users will not be able to turn those back on? They're off for good? They're just not a thing anymore? Or is
They're
it
just
more
not a thing anymore,
that...
yeah. It's not a user controlled. It's Google are turning them off. And I don't really know why.
Yeah, that's right. Because what's that do for... Is it going to build trust back in Google? Is it causing grief for Google? Because I would have thought that if it was working, Google would be like, anything that's working, like, we're going to take your money. So it must be something that's driving for them to turn it off.
Nobody.
I don't know.
Let's Google that question and say, because that is the thing that doesn't make sense. I mean, we know that Apple have kind of highlighted the issue by not allowing third-party cookies on their devices. Like you literally have to go in and turn it on, I think, if you're an Apple user. But this is what makes it off
cookies.
third party cookies. I am on it. I'm putting in exactly that search.
Google is tracking protection, stopping cross-site tracking. But it does say it will be enabled.
Okay, so here's a thing from, oh God, it's Microsoft again.
Appears concerns of their audience. Consumers are more aware and increasingly think of it as a
Oh,
privacy
so it's
invading.
privacy, isn't it? It's not. It's privacy because they keep getting taken to court. So maybe they've been forced.
What I wonder though is it's obviously the balance. The time has come where it's not worth it. So that's a big call to say, even though all these ads, yada yada, it's not worth it. We've got to turn it off. That's
Yes.
a big financial, economic, like things in the end, money talks. So there's got to be some financial. I mean, are they getting taken to court that much? Maybe.
Yes, they're getting taken to court that much. Like every week, when we talk, I have to resist the urge to say Google have been in court again and fined these hundreds of billions. I don't think it's happening because they don't fancy it anymore. That it's happening because, and it's not because the users don't like the lack of privacy. It's because I think it's becoming a unusable it's not feasible. Is that what we say? Viable. Maybe it's becoming less viable to have it because it is hugely intrusive. It's hugely intrusive. So what they're saying here is advertisers will shift to contextual ads. Third-party cookies silently track and share your online activities with advertisers to personalize ads. That's not true. They don't share them with advertisers. They share them with the platforms. And then the platforms say, here is somebody who's interested in this thing. Privacy concerns have led to the phasing out of third-party cookies and the introduction of compliance standards. Advertisers will shift to contextual ads, first-party data collection, and predictive analysis to provide personalized experiences without compromising privacy. I saw something recently about how they were checking to see if these platforms were listening to you. So people were running experiments where they would start talking about a product, and then hey ho, within an hour, they were seeing it on their screens, that same product that they hadn't spoken about randomly. You know, so I don't know if it means they're going to stop listening to us. Cookies were important because they knew what we were interested in, managing sessions, targeted ads. Why are they being phased out? Third-party cookies form part of the biggest drivers of $1 billion industry, online advertising. Major companies rely heavily on your user data to better understand you and show you things you're more likely to buy. Third-party cookies help build comprehensive user profiles. They do this efficiently by silently tracking your activities online, often without your knowledge and permission. However, how these cookies collect your data can often feel like an invasion of privacy, etc., etc. The government has responded to these concerns by introducing legislation, etc., etc. Major browser companies, Firefox and Safari, have also taken the initiative to block third-party cookies by default. Google has, however, announced a delay in phasing out these. Well, that's actually happening now. So, yeah, so that's what's going on. And I wonder, so they're talking about contextualized ads. What they're talking about is display advertising. So display advertising or contextualized ads, is that display advertising? I don't know. The markets aren't going to be available through quick and easy advertising that were previously. That's what's going on.
So I think we can assume for now it's pressure, and then we can see what happens to them if they are trading, getting sued with,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, yeah, because the other thing is that it's like not all ads are unwelcome. You know, I'm quite happy to Google Bali Villas and have Bali Villas presented to me wherever I go. So, you know, that's an interesting dilemma.
So this is the thing. We're going to see many more spammy ads because they're not going to be able to target them as effectively as they were previously. So we're going to see much less relevant ads. So maybe the world will come around and they'll say, no, we liked it better when they knew more about us. Maybe that's what's going to happen.
we'll see. All right. Interesting.
Going to be
Big
interesting.
call.
Okay, good. Shall
Call.
we get to your second story? What is your second story? It's either a B2B predictions for tough B2B marketers. Is that B2B marketers who are tough, or is that, I don't know. And then you've got one about Facebook.
Yeah. The Facebook
Let's
one.
go
Yeah,
B2B marketers.
let's go. Oh, B2B marketing. Yeah. That's a predictions for 2024. And it's sort of saying what's coming, what's going. So there's a green light, red light kind of set of messages. This is just sort of an interesting, I think, story from marketing professionals. They talk about everything's all about video, with no surprise there, but this idea that 91% of consumers want to see more online video content from brands. 66% find short form videos to be the most engaging, and 86% use video as a marketing tool, marketing professionals say. So I think basically that's telling us, and I don't know, these stats are compiled by Oberlo. I don't know how many people they've surveyed or where they're getting their data, but that just tells us video is king. So for 2024, what is, I think, personally interesting, I've just recently interviewed a couple of chief learning officers, and they've talked about how they're running Instagram Reels, and this is fresh from today. They've examined the learning retention from users, and they have thousands of employees across the world, and normal e-learning modules, it's 59% is what you'd expect in terms of doing a course and retaining the information. Instagram Reels, which are these little videos, person to person, 73% retention of information. So it's actually like, get involved. we prefer, we like, we're more likely to retain what we've seen, if it's short and sweet. And so this Instagram Reels is what they're using. This is one of a very, very large bank, and thousands of staff. So yeah, that's a trend. And then the other side of that is what is happening around a red light. I guess is what things that are going. Marketers cutting out their ties to third-party data. That'll be the cookies and
Yes.
so forth. Just doubling down on privacy, and that's been actually ongoing for a little while. I think I talked about this maybe a year ago. First-party data, and it's just really in the spotlight now. Is own your own data and not getting third-party or second data.
Yes.
So, yeah. Goodbye cookies, hello video. That's the summary of that. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think video's a little bit like jungle.
Why is that, Martin?
Because it's massive. And I think they've been saying this for a little while, and I think it's true. What frazzles my mind right now, is how often I find myself quoting little videos that I see on Instagram Reels or these things. And I think what I'm starting to appreciate is that the greatest wisdom in the world can be delivered in about 20 seconds. So, for example, I was a step parent, and I saw this thing, and it said, and it was these people they were obviously having a much longer conversation. And they said the problem with being a stepfather is that you have all of the responsibility and none of the authority. And it's like, well, that's exactly it. Do you know what I mean? He was always her little boy. So there was never, you don't ever get to manage, you don't ever get to do prevention, because then you're being too controlling or whatever. You only ever get to clear up the mess once you've watched the car crash happen right in front of your eyes. Do you know what I mean? So that bit of wisdom, and I've spoken to a friend of mine, the stepfather, and he's having a similar issue. And I said, look, this is it. And he's like, oh my God, thank you. That's it. That's exactly it. So it frazzles my mind a little bit, like the greatest wisdom in the world, it seems, can be delivered in the shape of an Instagram reel. And And people, and the other thing that I've noticed recently is because sometimes I'll be cooking and I'll get my hands messy and I'll have Instagram Reels playing and it will just play the same thing like 15 times until I've finished doing the dirty thing and wash my hands and I can move it on. So that's a little bit annoying, but 100%, like video is so easy to produce. Like you stand up a camera and a microphone and you are producing content and you just start somewhere. Even with your device, you're producing now almost, if it's well lit, you're producing almost professional quality video. Everybody that is proactively marketing should be producing video. That's what I think. And then putting it everywhere. YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, etc., all those places. Okay, good.
Send it to your people. First party data. That's 2024 sorted out. Good job.
Yes. And we're on the same page because that is obviously because they're ending those third-party cookies. So that's good. Let's get your last story done because mine really is a dead donkey story. Now we're looking at you. Now we're looking at your third story. So more than a third of Facebook Marketplace ads could be scams, with customers losing up to 60 million in 23, study finds. The TSB, is this the bank in the UK, the TSB? This is a .com story. Yeah.
Retail banking chain.
Yes. Found 34% of the listings were scams, with sellers using tactics known to be commonly used by fraudsters. More than a third of adverts on Facebook Marketplace could be scams, with UK customers potentially losing 60 million on the platform in 2023, an investigation has found. Facebook Marketplace allows people to buy and sell, etc., We know what it is. Are we surprised, Melanie Farmer? I suppose 60 million is £1 per person. Is that a lot of money?
It's so low. Well, listen, it's 34% are fraud is what they're saying. So that actually is not low. That's quite high. I like the fact that this article says why you can trust Sky News in amongst the idea of this fraud thing. But so that aside, so I like how they've unpacked what they actually did, which is they had their fraud team at the bank contacted 100 sellers. And I can see why they would do that, because they're dealing with credit card fraud and that sort of thing. So that it would be a thing that you would have that team do. And so I think for that reason, it seems like a credible use of time and why they would do it. And so they're saying that UK buyers £160,000 a day are scam. That's a lot. A day? Yeah, and that's just from one, an estimate from one study. It may be much higher.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's just UK. Yeah, so I think it's really interesting because if that's true at scale, then a third of the world is being presented with, well, a third of things we see that we could buy you could say would be spam.
Yes, and this
That's
is exactly. It's a lot. It's 33%. It's and this is the only thing I use Facebook for anymore. Like if I really can't find something I need to buy, then I will go to Facebook to find it. This is the truth. What Matt Hepburn, TSB's fraud spokesperson, said is you wouldn't shop at a supermarket if a third of the items were stale or counterfeit. So the same should apply to Facebook Marketplace, where you have a 1 in 3 chance of being scammed when paying online. But the thing is, it's true of Facebook Marketplace. It's true of Google. It's true of the Google Play Store. It's like if they can't create an environment which we can rely on to shop in, then people will lose faith in it and they will stop shopping there. And then those businesses will be losing revenues and maybe their viability, So I think this is going to be a real issue. I couldn't believe when I messaged Google that they weren't at all perturbed that this business, these people who are clearly only in the business of convincing children to spend more money than they can conceive of their parents. Like you can look at the game and say that game is not worth £80. Like if it was £2, I might pay it. It's not worth £80. Like I can get Medal of Honor or War of Honor or whatever these games are called now for 50 quid. Why would I spend 80 quid on this toilet game? and they don't care. And the thing is, it's all about trust. Is we won't be using the internet anymore if we can't trust it. And
I just wondered, like, it would be great if we could naughty list, you know, spam sites, for and alert Visa and MasterCard, so what, like banks, because they care. Like, I think it's interesting about the source of this particular story being coming from a bank, because they will be affected directly. It's very expensive to reimburse fraudulent whatever and deal with that.
yes,
Even if they're not reimbursing, they've got to deal with complaints and manage the fact that something is, there's a sofa. No, there was no sofa when I went there. You know, these are things that they've got to deal. It's expensive. So I love that it's coming from a bank. I think it's interesting that could well be, because money talks, the source of the change that's needed, because
yes,
they'll be motivated more than anyone else to shut this down and make their customers less likely to go off and be scammed. So it's in their interest to really shut that stuff down. Yeah,
yes,
interesting. So I mean, there could be the banks going, like, we've had enough.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Stop.
exactly, the platforms are monopolies. They don't care. Where are you going to go if you don't go to a Facebook Marketplace? You've got nowhere to go. But if it is being facilitated by these banks, and they are liable to compensate people if they've suffered fraud, then that's where the pressure is going to come from. Okay, so some hope maybe. I don't have any hope that the platforms are going to wake up and realise they have to be taking better care of their customers. I don't have any hope of that at all.
It's
Good.
not as motivated. Why would they be?
Yes. Shall we go to my dead donkey story?
Yeah. This is fun.
Well, I don't know if it is fun. It's kind of scary. So Manchester United aim to use AI for on-pitch advantage in university link-up, is what they're saying. So the story is, let's go down. Like, these are football players, not very good football players. So one of the first roles created thanks to a new collaboration between Manchester United and Manchester Metropolitan University's Institute of Sport will aim to use artificial intelligence to create advantage on the pitch. The club will work with Manchester Met on a number of short and long-term research and innovation projects, which will seek to deliver insights that can be used at Old Trafford and Carrington, etc., etc. So this, for me, is the future of AI, where a football club can say computers are better at running a football club than we are. They're not handing it over wholesale to AI, but they are expecting to improve their on-pitch performance by incorporating AI into their practices. Like, this is what's going to happen, where everybody's just going to abdicate their responsibility to AI, and it's going to be AI knows better, so we're just going to get AI to do it. If it's just happening on a computer, then we might as well just watch the computer games, you know, the Football Manager, FIFA, whatever those football games. We might as well just watch that. Do you know what I mean? It's only the human interest that makes it interesting, you know. And do you know what I mean? So I mean, maybe I'm being a little bit over something, but we've seen it. They're using AI in courtrooms to prove cases or argue cases. They're using AI now in football clubs. So what is the point? The point is, this is my philosophy, is that humankind has always looked for a higher authority. So in paganism, it was nature maybe, and then there was religion, and then there was science, and now there's AI. So you're never going to get away from this higher power thing. The danger is that if the higher power is AI, we know that AI was coded at some point by my mental mate, Johan Laubscher, who was coding through the night so that his manager didn't get to challenge his code, you know. And so high on caffeine, you know, creating things, accelerated coding. So, just what hope is there for the world if AI is going to be running the football clubs? Then we might as well just have robots on the field, and then they might as well just all perform exactly the same. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's a worry. What do you think?
So I feel differently about this because I know um, one of our clients is a big law firm. They win innovation awards all the time, which is highly unusual for any law firm because they're, as a sector, not the most innovative. But this law firm, so the head of innovation there, she has a law background herself, was a lawyer for many years. She said that yes, they're using AI, but it's 80% there in terms of like some you ask ChatGPT or whoever it is to produce something for you or make a case, and it will do. And what it's doing is it's freeing up the time that it would have taken for the grunt work that a junior, and then they can have the junior do that, but then they can have one junior instead of five. So it's maybe doing people out of jobs. But you would never make decisions only based on what that gives you. But it does give you 80% of what you need. And so it's actually quite effective. So it could be that I doubt they're saying, oh, well, I think this, but I'm going to go with AI. I would imagine that they're saying, what does AI think about this? And they're getting inspiration and saying, because in football, I forget who it was, whether football or might have been in the US, might have been American football, but I think it was American football, it was a movie about it where they used data and they relied
They
on
call it
data to make
Moneyball.
decisions.
Moneyball. They made a movie
Yes,
about it.
that right?
Moneyball. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. And so, in a way, that is already a thing and it worked. So they had to work at it and understand this data, but they were relying on a slightly different thing because they were thinking about the data. But the thing is here with AI, I think they're not going to be just blindly taking what the advice. They're going to be saying, is that a good idea or not?
Yeah.
And
And
they're not going to just do it.
I am pushing the metaphor to make the point, I think. The thing is, football is interesting because it has interesting characters. So it's Pep Guardiola, it's Jurgen Klopp, it's Jose Mourinho. So it's all this flawed genius. So I think the interest of anything, like every story, has to have characters, and it's the characters that we're interested in. And the more computerized it is, the less it's about the characters, the less interesting it becomes. And we've seen it in football because in the 90s in football, we had actual characters like Vinnie Jones and Psycho, who was the left back for Forest and West Ham, Pierce, and Paul Gascoigne. And we had actual characters on the pitch. Well, there aren't characters on the pitch anymore. They are almost...
And Swear is my favourite, who bites people's ears off.
Yes. So, but all of that
Who
has
does
kind
that?
of been... Well, that nutcase does that. So,
I know, yeah.
yes. Are you talking about Suarez? Are you talking about Mike Tyson?
Oh, well, maybe that's where he got the idea. I don't know.
That is.
But in the
But
World
like,
Cup, I mean,
yes.
guys, come on.
I think he did it three times.
You're
I think
right.
he did it three times, yeah.
He
So,
did. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
yes. So maybe this is also about marketing. Like if you want people to be interested in your business, they're not going to be interested in your business. They're interested in the personalities in your business, the characters in your business. They're interested in the relationships they have with your business. I think that's what that's... Okay, so we're coming to a learning point where I would say, shut up about AI. Use it 100% like you say. It's useful. It really is. It can take you 80% of the way down the track. I don't think it can. It can take you 40% of the way down the track, and you start 40% further than where you were going to start. It's massively useful, but it's not the thing. Like, it's not the thing. The thing is the value you deliver and the relationships you build. That's the thing.
Yeah, that certainly, it'll tell you what has happened too. It's not necessarily going to invent something completely different.
No.
It will not necessarily be very good at creativity. It'll just go, here's what the rest of the world is doing. And then you can take or leave that.
Yeah, and as I understand it, all it's really doing is just pulling. So this was my theory. I probably said this to you already, but my theory was if it just loaded the page in the way that a web page loads, then we wouldn't be anywhere near as excited about it because it's got that like keyboard animation on it. And we think it's creating as it goes. Then it looks so much more exciting. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a large part of its appeal, because if it was like Google and you said, create me a document that says this, or an article, and it went, well, I've just got this bit from here and this bit from there and that bit from there. So that's an interesting exercise. If you ask it to cite the sources, it will, and you'll see exactly what's going on. It's like, oh, it's found that part of the answer there and this part of the answer somewhere else. So, and even with art, that's all it's doing, is pulling pixels from other things that have already been created. So yeah, my point is, it's about the authority. It's like mankind has always looked for a higher power in the bit of history that we understand. And it would be, I think, dangerous if that higher power were to become AI and they were to say, okay, well, the computer knows best, so we let computers make decisions. Because AI, artificial intelligence, is a little bit like artificial grass. It looks nice, but you wouldn't necessarily want to slide very far on it. That's my feeling.
Yes, I'm all with you. There you go.
Good. So we got to the end. We did it. What's that?
I'm interested to see how they perform. I think we're going to see an upset Martin if they suddenly start winning more than they're already pretty good winners anyway. But
no, they're awful. They've been awful for 10 years. They've been awful for 10 years.
They've been doing. So if they need to sort it out, AI's here to help. Let's see if that turns it around.
Let's see if it does. Do you want the good news? We managed to get this done in 1 hour and 1 minute and 44 seconds, which I think is an actual record. But for 6 stories, I think it might be a record. So we did extraordinarily well. Is there anything that you haven't said that you wish you'd said?
I have said too much already.
Okay. Is there anything specific that you've said that you wish you hadn't said? When you were saying nice things about Elon Musk?
No. What a lovely guy. So clever.
Good. Okay, fantastic. So we got to the end. So if you are still with us, thank you for your time and your attention. And if you haven't yet, now is the second best time to like, share, subscribe and comment and get involved to give us the motivation to continue on this epic journey. We will see Melanie Farmer on the last Wednesday of next month, which will be February 2024. Thank you so much for being here, Melanie Farmer. You are an absolute star.
An absolute pleasure. Thank you, Martin Henley.
Thank you for taking the time to check out this episode of Marketing News. If you found this interesting and useful, then YouTube thinks you're really going to enjoy this, and this is the last thing that we've posted. If you haven't yet, and you could take a second to like, share, and subscribe and comment, that will give us the motivation to continue on this epic journey.